Hello everybody, my name is Rachel and welcome to my channel Kalanati. Today I'm going to do the first of the 2019 BooktubeSFF Awards Babbles topics, and this one is nomination suggestions. The nominations period ends on the 11th of February, so as of me filming this, you still have about a week left to get your nominations in if you want to, and I encourage you to nominate anything that you thought was your favorite from 2018. So these are my ideas for things that I will probably nominate, as well as some things that I haven't read in a few of the categories, but that I'm really interested in. And I'm one of those people who really enjoys seeing some things appear on shortlists that I haven't read because I want that extra kick in the pants or motivation to finally read them. So there are just some things that I haven't read, but that I think are still probably contenders or just very interesting eligible candidates for the award, and I want to mention those as well. The first category is Best Science Fiction Novel, and you know me, science fiction is my thing. I have opinions in this category. My first nomination suggestion is The Calculating Stars by Mary Robinette Kowal, which is the first novel in her Lady Astronaut series. I loved this. It was possibly my very favorite book of 2018, and I have talked about it before. I've also done a full review on it if you want to know more details, but this is historical science fiction and very, very good. Next is Revenant Gun by Yoon-Ha Lee. This is the conclusion to his Machineries of Empire trilogy, and the first two books in the series were also nominated for previous BooktubeSFF awards. I'm not sure that The Revenant Gun is as widely read or widely loved as the first two, but it was still one of the standout science fiction novels of 2018 for me. Another one that I really enjoyed, though I've had mixed feelings on, is Before Mars by Emma Newman. This is the third book in her Planetfall universe. All the books are standalones, though it's kind of held together by a broader story, so you could totally read this one on its own. It's not my favorite of the Planetfall novels, but once again, it is one of the more compelling and interesting science fiction novels that I read from 2018. And it gave me a lot of things to pause and consider about my own opinions and assumptions on topics like motherhood, and I really appreciated it for that. The other two books that I want to mention I haven't read, but I would love to get to them at some point. One is Blackfish City by Sam J. Miller, which is his first adult novel, I believe. I've not really heard anybody talk about this except for Thomas from SFF 180, who did a review of it and made it sound very interesting. And then the other is The Consuming Fire by John Scalzi, which is the sequel to The Collapsing Empire, and that was nominated in this category last year. A lot of people really enjoyed it. I would love to continue on with this series, though once again, I haven't heard many people talk about The Consuming Fire, maybe because it came out pretty late in 2018 and not many people have gotten to it yet. I don't know. The next category is fantasy, and honestly I only have one book in this that I'll probably nominate, and that is Sword Heart by T. Kingfisher, aka Ursula Vernon. This is one of the best and funniest fantasy novels I read last year. It was really good. It's set in the same universe as her Clock Tower War duology, and the second book in that duology, The Wonder Engine, is also eligible. Maybe I'll nominate both of them. I don't know. They're just really fun. And I was really abysmal at reading 2018 fantasy, I guess. Then there are a couple that I haven't read, but I am also really curious about them. Foundry Side by Robert Jackson Bennett. Tons of people have read this and talked about it, and I'm really interested. Everything I've heard about it makes it sound pretty good. The Monster Borrow Cormorant by Seth Dickinson. I really want to read this. It's the sequel to The Traitor Borrow Cormorant, and that was, you know, it kind of took BookTube by storm a couple of years ago. And then there is a translated novel, Vida Nostra by Marina and Sergei Dyachenko, which is one of my most anticipated books of 2018. It would be fantastic if a translated novel made it to the shortlist this year. Kind of a long shot, but I can hope. For Best Debut Novel, my one and only nomination will be Semiosis by Sue Burke. No surprise. This is also eligible in the science fiction category, but personally I think it is better suited to Best Debut. And it was one of my favorite books of 2018, so I don't think I need to say much more about it than that. There are two others that I haven't read that are eligible. One is Witchmark by C.L. Polk, which I'm getting ready to start, and I've heard nothing but great things about. And then Trail of Lightning by Rebecca Roanhorse, which I've heard once again great things about, and I think it was Sam from Thoughts on Tomes' review of it that made me think this would be some really great urban fantasy to try out. Middle grade, my one nomination here is going to be Wondersmith, The Calling of Morrigan Crow by Jessica Townsend. I love this book. It was even better than the first book, Nevermore, and everybody loved that one last year. And there's really nothing else in this category that I know anything about, so I'll be very interested to see what other people are nominating for it. For Best Graphic Work, my one and only nomination recommendation is obviously Monstrous Volume 3. What do I need to say? Everybody loves this. The artwork is gorgeous, the story is great, and this is the last volume that will be eligible because of the 3-volume cutoff rule. I was kind of disappointed that I didn't read any other comics that were eligible. I certainly read SFF comics last year, but most of them were far enough into a series that they weren't eligible anymore. And that's disappointing. So once again, it'll be interesting to see what makes it to the shortlist because I'm really curious about like what I missed and what other people have been reading and stuff. And the last category is Best Short Work, and once again, I have so many opinions in this category. It's the one category where I wish you could nominate more than 2 things because I'm overflowing with ideas. So for novellas, my 2 favorites that are eligible are God's Monsters and the Lucky Peach by Kelly Robson. I've done a review of this. I loved it. And then More Murderbot, Artificial Condition is the second Murderbot novella. Who doesn't love Murderbot? I love Murderbot so much. And then for some things that are even shorter than novellas, there is Meat and Salt and Sparks by Rich Larson, and it is about a chimpanzee named Koo who has been recognized as a person. She's been uplifted, and she works as a police detective and is investigating a murder. It was so good. This just blew me away. I've always been impressed by Rich Larson's work, but this was such a great story about an uplifted animal, which I think is pretty hard to do right, let's say. And then there is The Stars Above by Catherine Duckett. This is my favorite story from Uncanny Magazine's Disabled People Destroy Science Fiction double issue. There were a bunch of great stories in that issue, but this one was my favorite, and it's what introduced me to Catherine Duckett as an author. My last recommendation for this category is another novelette, and that is The Thing About Ghost Stories by Naomi Kritzer. I think this one was also published in Uncanny Magazine, and it's another one that just blew me away by the end. I frequently start out reading Kritzer stories thinking, this is okay, what's so special about this? And then by the time I get to the end, I'm just an emotional wreck and I'm like, that's the best thing I've read in ages. And this was such a good story. It manages to weave together a lot of the cliches and stereotypes about ghost stories with a very original ghost story that has its own twist, and it was heart-wrenching and beautiful. It was so good. You could tell I'm still trying so hard not to sneeze, my face is getting red. Anyway, those are all of my nomination recommendations for the 2019 BooktubeSFF Awards. I do feel a little bit underread, a little bit underprepared. Like, I was surprised that I hadn't read more eligible fantasy novels that I wanted to nominate, but some years are like that. I'm really looking forward to seeing what other people are considering for their nominations and what the shortlist will eventually be. So happy nominating. I will talk to you again soon, and until then, bye.